All right. So, what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. Today is August 18th, 2024, about 3:48 p.m., where I'm at right now. And today we are continuing reading Donald Trump's horrible 2015 book, Crippled America: How to Make America Great Again. You can find this on Amazon for the humble price of only $10.49 in paperback, though I do not suggest anybody buy this book or support this. But we're reading through it for my conservative, fascist, right-wing audience that seems to be attracted to listening to what a handsome black communist, socialist, leftist has to say about politics and continuing to educate the people. So, yeah, as we continue reading this book, I want to tell everybody here, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting this channel. And if you have any books that you want me to read or react to, or you want us to read together, put it in the comment section. I'll try to find it. I'll try to review it. I'll try to react to it, and I'll try to stream it for the people to see as well. So, we are going to pick up on chapter 9. In our last live stream, we read about 4 chapters. The chapters were about healthcare, they were about the environment, they were about foreign policy, and they were also about economics, right? And Trump was saying some wild stuff. I'm not going to review everything, so just watch the previous live stream to catch up on everything he's been talking about. And yeah, we're going to try to read about 4 chapters today in this, and then possibly we'll finish up this book tomorrow in our live stream, because I think there's only going to be 3 or 4 remaining chapters after that. So let's go here. Chapter 9. Nice guys can finish first. I'm a nice guy. See, this just been lies. It's lies throughout this book. Just lies. Just the very first sentence. I'm a nice guy. Imagine Trump looking you dead in the eye and saying, I'm a nice guy. Convicted rapist. Convicted felon. Bad businessman, and he looks you dead in the eyes and says, I'm a nice guy. Continuing here. So, I'm a nice guy. I really am. But I have a nasty habit that most career politicians don't have. I tell the truth. I'm not afraid to say exactly what I believe. When I'm asked a question, I don't answer with a speech that ignores a controversial subject. I answer the question. Sometimes people don't like my answers. Too bad. So they attack me. And when someone attacks me, I fight back. Hard. That has always been my philosophy. If my critics attack me, then I'll fight back. Let's be honest and truthful with one another. I'm confident my answer makes the most sense. You know who really appreciates this approach? The American people. They're not used to hearing the truth from politicians, but they love it, and they love hearing it from me. They have never seen anyone like me in politics. They have never seen anyone who is willing to stand up to the lobbyists, the PACs, the special interests, who all have way too much influence over Washington politicians. I am paying my own way so I can say whatever I want. I will only do what is right for our country, which I love. Sometimes there is a price I pay for that. Loyalty is extremely important to me. My family and close friends will say that I am loyal to a fault. That's why when I announced that I was running, I was very interested to see which of my so-called friends would remain loyal to me. In politics, 55% of the vote is considered a landslide, but that means 45% of the people are against you. I've never had 45% against me. When I went to events, people would cheer. I would hear very few boos or hecklers, but when you run for political office, suddenly you hear some boos in the background. One night at a charity event where I had made a major contribution, my wife Melania was with me as I was cheered loudly, but we were surprised to hear a small number of people booing in the background. Melania said to me, "Darling, do you know what? You've never been booed before." I looked at her and said, "Welcome to the world of politics." In fact, I have been surprised by some people I once considered friends. One of my biggest surprises was Macy's. I've had a long and good relationship with the chairman and CEO, Terry Lundgren, a very nice guy and good executive. I've sold shirts, ties, cufflinks, and fragrances at Macy's. We've done very well. I like the fact that Trump was the only brand that could sell a $50 million apartment and a $37 tie. Terry Lundgren was a good friend. We spent a lot of time together at Mar-a-Lago and at many Trump golf courses. I've introduced him to Mar-a-Lago and at many Trump golf courses. I've introduced him to people who have become good friends of his. I got a call from him in August 2015 when I was receiving a lot of bad press regarding my statements about illegal immigration. I was getting ready to speak to a large crowd in New Hampshire when my cell phone rang. The MC on the dais had already already started introducing me. He was talking about some of my buildings, how well I was doing in the polls. But when I saw Terry, a friend, was calling, I answered. Donald, Donald, I have to speak to you, he said in a rushed and nervous tone. We're receiving calls from Mexicans. They're going to picket Macy's. I said, that's no big deal. They'll be there for an hour. I can't let this happen, he said. It wouldn't be good for our company's reputation. I told him I was getting ready to make a speech and couldn't talk to him, but said pointedly, if you do this, it would truly be an act of disloyalty because you're getting a little bit of heat over selling my ties and shirts. Aside from that, it wouldn't make me look very good. Terry said, I've got to do something. We're putting out a press release that we're terminating you. Wow, I thought to myself. And this is a company that just paid a massive fine for some terrible acts to its customers. Not nice. As he read the release, the MC announced my name, and the crowd roared. Wait a second, you're reading this while I have to speak to this packed house? Can it wait until tomorrow? We have to do it now, he said. It can't wait. Wow, what a great act of disloyalty. I'm telling you that if they pick it, they'll be there for an hour. Nobody cares. My ties, shirts, cufflinks, and fragrances are now available at Trump Tower, not at Macy's. I've been told that many thousands of people cut up their Macy's credit cards and mailed them back to the store because of this. The public gets it. I've also heard that other companies have stopped doing business with Macy's, and at least one prominent businessman told me, I can't believe how disloyal Terry Lundgren was, he added jokingly. He used Mar-a-Lago more than you do. Likewise, NBC and Univision refused to broadcast the Miss Universe, Miss USA pageants. I sued NBC, but settled after buying its half of the company and selling the whole thing to IMG. Currently, I am suing Univision for a substantial amount of money. It's crazy because this chapter is titled Nice Guys Finish Last. But literally, Trump is talking about all the mean things he did, calling Mexicans rapists, drug dealers, criminals, and him suffering the consequences. But then the title of the chapter is what? Nice guys can finish first. It seems like assholes finish last, Trump, from what you're describing. Because all your friends are abandoning you when you started becoming the racist demagogue in the American public. Continuing here. Anyway, likewise, NBC and Univision refused to broadcast the Miss Universe / Miss USA pageants. I sued NBC, but settled after buying its half of the company and selling the whole thing to IMG. Currently, I am suing Univision for a substantial amount of money. I'd had a long and very successful relationship with NBC, which made millions broadcasting my top-rated show, The Apprentice. But before this happened, I told them that if I ran for president, because of the equal time regulations, I would not be doing the show anymore. The Apprentice had already been renewed, and top executives of NBC and Comcast came to my office to try to convince me to change my mind. Steve Burke of Comcast, NBC's president, Bob Greenblatt, and Paul Telegedy, head of reality television, are great guys, and my relationship with all of them has been an amazing experience. I'm so glad we settled our litigation, and life goes on. My lawsuit against Univision continues, though, and at some point, I expect to win a lot of money from them. They broke a contract, and for that, they must pay. It's sad because I had such a great liking for the two top executives, Brandy Falco and Bo Ferrari. Who knows? At some point, we'll probably have that relationship again. What? How does this nice guy end up creating so many enemies? So many people have to abandon him. Oh man. Acty said, he's such a rich brat, shaking my head. Yeah, it's a shame. It's crazy. I'm writing a book that's about how I'm the best, everybody loves me, and then in the stories I'm telling, everybody keeps abandoning me and running away from me because I'm such a nice guy. Ave Cree said, Donald Trump is the best. Yes, he's the best at losing money at businesses. He's the best at making enemies. He's the best at polarizing the American public. He's the best at continuing to destabilize America abroad and domestically. Yeah, he's the best at doing the worst job. Continuing here. The publicity about severing ties those first few weeks was relentless. ESPN breaks ties with Trump, even though I never had a deal with ESPN. They were using my golf course on the Pacific Ocean, Trump National, Los Angeles, for a golf outing. NASCAR cuts all ties with Trump, but I had no ties with NASCAR. They were renting a ballroom at Trump National Doral for their annual banquet. And, in fact, I kept their substantial deposits and will rent those places to someone else, hopefully for more money. Things have calmed down and people are now giving me great credit for raising the problem of illegal immigration. I made that issue so important because it is so important to the future of America. I wasn't surprised it caused a lot of problems. Most politicians don't want to get too close to something that controversial. I don't care. I learned how to be direct, how to be honest, and how to stand up for my beliefs from my father. Fred Trump, my wonderful, tough, but loving father, built, owned, and managed buildings in Queens and Brooklyn. He made enough money to just sit back and relax, but that wasn't who he was. Even on weekends, he'd be walking through a building, a house, a construction site. If the halls were dirty or a bulb was out, the people working there would know about it. My father wasn't overly concerned with hurting someone's feelings. He wanted the floors to be cleaned or, as he would often say, in mint condition. If the person responsible couldn't keep them clean, he was gone. My father believed he had an obligation to his tenants. His motto was simple: you do your job, you keep your job. Do it well, you get a better job. That always made sense to me. So, Ave Cree says, who's better than him? Who's better than him at losing money for the American people? Who's better at him at ruining the American government? Who's better at destroying the system of checks and balances? Let's see. Let's see. Well, Obama, was able to pass legislation and use executive order to kill Americans abroad using drone strikes. So, yeah, Obama was better at that, right? Obama was better at deporting illegal aliens and immigrants in our nation, sent back millions of Mexicans and stuff like that. The way Trump did all the draconian stuff that you like, Ave Cree, I assume, the way Obama did the evil stuff that the American president can do with the power vested in him was actually better. If we actually talk about killing brown people abroad, killing Muslims abroad, Obama was better than that. If we're talking about, getting rid of the illegal migrants in America, Obama was better than that. If we're talking about expanding executive power and making the president damn near like a king, Ave Cree, Obama was better than that. So everything you guys like about Trump, all the evil shit that you want to see happen to America, all the stuff where women's rights are taken away, Muslims are destroyed and killed abroad, their countries are destabilized, and you want the immigrants the hell out of America, at least Obama was better at that. Now, we could even take it back even further and talk about all the other evil, horrible U.S. presidents who decided to do horrible things abroad and domestically to the American people. Okay, Ave Cree said Trump is the best. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm literally saying all the things that Trump did and wants to do, and that Obama at least did it better. This is a statistical fact. More people were deported under Obama. More brown-skinned Mexicans that we don't want in America. We need more people from Norway and Sweden in America, according to Trump's words. At least Obama did it better. But if we're talking about who I would like to see run America, my endorsement is for Cornel West. My endorsement is for Cornel West. So Cornel West for president. All right. Avery said, Kamala being better than Trump is funny to say. She admitted that prices were lower under Trump. She is a fraud. Avery, I don't know who said Kamala is better. Okay, Acti said Kamala is better. All right. Acti said he's a convicted criminal. Ave Cree said yes because they convicted him. Yes, because he's a criminal. Y'all are crazy. Y'all are in the chat going crazy. Ave Cree, would you want your let's say the year is 1994. Ave Cree is not even an American, everybody. Ave Cree is from India. Ave Cree is from India, by the way. So let's not even pay attention to what he has to say. He's a dirty, musty Indian living somewhere in Mumbai, eating curry with his fingers out of a thick, hot pot. Okay? So let's not take Ave Cree too seriously. He's an Indian troll getting paid cents on the dollar by Russian agencies. He is a musty Indian living somewhere in Mumbai, eating curry tofu from his dirty fingers, where he also scratches himself in erogenous places. Okay? All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, welcome Avery Adams. We're continuing reading the book of your dear leader, Donald Trump, saying the wildest stuff possible. Anyway, continuing here with what Trump said. Unfortunately, politics doesn't work that way. In politics, once someone gets elected, it's tough to get them out. There's no motivation to try to get anything done. If the American public had any idea what really goes on, they'd be much angrier than they are already. Congress's approval rating would be even lower than it is now. Career politicians like it this way. Being a politician is their career. I know many of them. Believe me, they couldn't get a job in private industry. They don't want anyone taking away their great pension plan and health benefits that you are paying for. The special interests and lobbyists also like it this way. They're earning a lot of money selling influence, and giving away money is a lot easier than cleaning floors. Believe me, I know how it works. I've made a lot of campaign contributions. I'm not taking a penny from those people. I'm paying my own way. So the old rules don't apply to me. And those people who benefit from those rules don't know how to react. At first, they hoped if they ignored me, I would go away. The American people certainly proved them wrong. They love the fact that someone is finally standing up for their interests. They couldn't ignore me, so they started attacking me. These veteran politicians looked for the place I was most vulnerable, which is why they attacked my hair, which is mine, by the way. Okay, what type of insecure man? They had started attacking me about my hair. Trump is so crazy. But honestly, this is the first time I heard him even talk about his hair. He said the hair is mine, the same way like a black woman says the weave is hers, the lace front is hers. Because we all know that's a plug-in. Like that's a toupee. That's a hella glued in toupee. Okay. Okay. Ave Cree says, okay, you can keep Joe Biden. Let's hope he doesn't fall and break his neck. Okay, Ave Cree, Joe Biden dropped out. I know in India, you got those big box televisions with the satellite disc on top of your house that your grandfather has to go and shake every few times just to get reception. But Joe Biden dropped out of the race. Okay, I don't think Ave Cree understands what actually has happened. I know living in India, Ave Cree, you're like at least 3 weeks behind what the rest of the world knows about. But what I want you to do is go back outside, tend to your goats, continue stirring up that hot pot of curry on a big fireplace, and stay out of American business. Okay, we don't need any dirty immigrants like you in America talking all this big ish about our politics, and meanwhile in your country you got people shitting in the streets. Okay, keep it over there. Keep it in India, Ave Cree. Okay, and stay out of big American business. Avery says Trump is a Gemini. LOL. That's all we need to know. What type of crazy man writes about they started attacking my hair, which is mine? I bet somebody needs to rip that thing. Ave Cree, don't say you're from Africa. Don't say you're from Africa. No, because nobody can smell as musty as you in Africa. I've been to Africa, and people are not this stupid in Africa. You're pretty dumb. The people in Africa are very bright, intelligent, thoughtful. They don't say stupid stuff like trying to suck the dick of a white supremacist like Donald Trump. Okay? All right. Anyway, even if you're from Africa, Trump calls your country an S-hole country. So I guess you're glad that you want to suck the dick of a man who would say your home nation is an S-hole. You get what I'm saying? Ave Cree says, yeah, because it is. Yeah, because India is an S-hole. India is an S-hole. And even if you are from Africa, you're an Indian in Africa. So you're making the continent worse. Okay? You're making the continent worse. You're bringing crime. You're bringing disease. You might be a rapist. Some Indians are good people. Some Indians are good people, but Ave Cree, you're probably a criminal, a drug dealer, a rapist. Let's just use the rhetoric of your white supremacist daddy. Let's just use the rhetoric of that, Ave Cree, for you. Okay? You're probably a rapist. You're probably a criminal. But some, I assume, are good people. Some Indians are good people, but not you. Continuing here. All right, so they couldn't ignore me, so they started attacking me. These veteran politicians looked for the place I was most vulnerable, which is why they attacked my hair, which is mine, by the way. They showed a lot of courage attacking my hair. This resulted in what might be the strangest political headline ever written when NBC News reported, Trump defends hair, attacks media at campaign rally. Recently, though, they have been claiming I haven't put out enough specifics. There's a good reason for this, and it fits perfectly with my overall philosophy of leadership. Many of our problems, caused by years of stupid decisions or no decisions at all, have grown into a huge mess. If I could wave a magic wand and fix them, I'd do it. But there are a lot of different voices and interests that have to be considered when working towards solutions. This involves getting people into a room and negotiating compromises until everyone walks out of the room on the same page. No one likes to compromise. Believe me, I will never compromise on the basic principles I'm discussing in this book. Yet every party to a decision needs to feel his position is understood. The hardest part of putting up a building is getting the city officials, the city council, the environmentalists, local zoning boards, and the ever critical media to agree that this is an acceptable project. Then we have to bring in the banks, the contractors, and the unions to make sure the project is financially feasible. If I'd say at the beginning, this is exactly the way we're going to construct this building. The headlines would have announced major opposition to new Trump project. Nothing would get done. The same principles apply to management of the federal government. Congress can't pass a budget because no one knows how to negotiate with the various interests involved in funding our government. Most of the time, Congress simply accepts last year's spending, which was a continuation of the year's previous spending. That is followed by an agreement on an emergency temporary stopgap measure. There is no final resolution, so the same broken process is repeated year after year. We need to find the best people, including experts in various fields and economists, as well as congressional leaders, to provide perspective and determine which programs are working and should be kept or expanded, which programs should be cut, and what new programs might be added to deal with the changing world. Career politicians always claim to have these answers, but how is that possible when they haven't properly analyzed the situation? A great leader has to be flexible, holding his ground on the major principles, but finding room for compromises that can bring people together. A great leader has to be savvy at negotiations so we don't drown every bill in pork barrel bridges to nowhere. I know how to stand my ground, but I also know that Republicans and Democrats need to find common ground to stand on as well. We need to see more real achievements in the first 100 days of the next administration than we've seen in the 7 years of the Obama presidency. Washington needs to get moving in the right direction again. Hopefully, you will understand that is more important than all the wonky details of grand plans that will never be enacted. And by the way, I have outlined plenty of policy initiatives. This is not the politics of hope. This is the politics of reality, which only a strong businessman like me can develop. Another favorite gimmick my opponents use to attack my ideas is to claim I'm not a conservative or not even a Republican, or worse, I'm not a politician. They claim this makes it impossible for me to get things done in Washington. I've got news for them. Washington doesn't work. Ironically, it was this type of criticism that helped my ideas attract attention and gain popularity in the first place. The contrast reminded Americans what they really think of career politicians. As for being a Republican and conservative, let me tell you a story about how our political system really works. In May 2015, the president of a major conservative advocacy group, the Club of Growth, came up to my office in Trump Tower. He seemed like a very nice, reasonable guy. During that meeting, he said some very complimentary things about my business success and told me that people like me were needed in Washington. A week later, we received a letter from him reading, as we both know, it is business owners who create jobs, not the government. Then he asked for $1 million donation. $1 million. When I turned him down, he attacked me in the press. I was not a real candidate, he said, and it would be unfortunate if I took away a spot at even one Republican debate. Take away a spot for whom? Someone, I suspect, who gave them that big donation. When I pulled ahead in the polls, this group spent $1 million on ads attacking me in Iowa. This is one smart group. They come to my office asking for $1 million donation, and it ends up costing them $1 million. Meanwhile, they're bad mouthing me to their followers. Donald Trump is the worst kind of politician who will say anything to get elected. Saying anything to them means telling the truth to me. This demonstrates everything that is wrong with our political system. We look at politicians and think this one's owned by this millionaire, that one's owned by that millionaire, or lobbyist, or special interest group. Me, I speak for the people. So the establishment attacks me. They can't own me. They can't dictate to me. So they search for ways to dismiss me. They point out accurately, for once, that at one time I was a registered Democrat. I grew up and worked in New York, where virtually everyone is a Democrat. You know who else was a Democrat? Ronald Reagan. He switched, and I switched years ago when I began to see what liberal Democrats were doing to our country. Now I'm a conservative Republican with a big heart. Who writes this? Who writes this? With a big heart. I didn't decide to become Republican. That's who I have always been. By nature, I'm a conservative person. I believe in strong work ethic, traditional values, being frugal in many ways, and aggressive in military and foreign policy. Let's break this down. I believe in strong work ethic. Trump literally has never worked a day in his life. He is not a guy, other than being on The Apprentice, on reality shows and stuff. He doesn't have to clock in to anybody. Sure, he's a businessman who makes business deals, but he's just a high level manager. And his daddy gave him a small loan of $1 million that he turned into a capitalist enterprise. Okay, traditional values. Okay, getting married 3 times, being accused of raping your first wife, slapping women, raping women. Is that traditional values? Maybe it is, because back in the day, that's what men used to get away with, right? You could just have a hard day at work and jump on your wife, and then she could write in her book, yeah, my husband raped me. What traditional values? Alluding to that you want to sleep with your own daughter? If Ivanka wasn't my daughter, I'd probably be dating her. Look at her. She's a hot piece of ass. Who says that about their own kids? Traditional values? Traditional values? Being frugal? The man literally has gold toilets. The man literally has gold toilets. How is that being frugal? How are these traditional values? Why did the Christian conservatives and the people who say they believe in these things believe in this charlatan? Avery says, at least he has a family unlike Kamala. That's just hella disrespectful. Avery, you know that's hella disrespectful. So wait, there are some, we don't know if Kamala can have kids or not. She is married and she is the stepmother. There are millions of women around the world who can't have kids, marry men, and become stepmothers. There's nothing wrong with being a stepmother or a stepfather. So what are you saying? That's wild disrespectful. Being able to flip 1 million is hard work. Okay, sure, it's hard work. It's hard work. It's hard work having a rich daddy who gives you a loan for 1 million. Never mind the allowances he gave you and all that sort of stuff. Oh God. Ave Cree says you're probably gonna vote Joe Biden again. Ave Cree doesn't listen because I know in India it's hard to understand the American accent. I said I endorse Cornel West. Ave Cree, I know you're not new to this channel because I've seen your name pop up in here. You should know Big Simon is Marxist Simon, Comrade Simon, Socialist Simon, Communist Simon. What are you talking about? So saying that you would want to sleep with your daughter is better than being a stepmom, says Acti. Exactly. Exactly. What type of traditional values? That's like biblical values. That's like the prophet Lot values. Like, I want to sleep with my own daughter. If she wasn't my daughter, I would be dating her. Like, how far mentally gone do you have to be? Yeah, you talking like you can do what Trump does. Ave Cree, I cannot do what Trump does. I cannot look at my daughter and say I want to fuck her. Ave Cree, I cannot look at my daughter and say I want to put my dick in her. No. Ave Cree, I can't do what Trump does. I can't see a woman changing clothes in a department store and jump on her. No, Ave Cree, I can't jump on a woman changing clothes, minding her own business, and just jump on her and put my dick inside her. No, I can't do that. Ave Cree, no, I cannot hire people to do a job at my casino and not pay them. No, no, I can't do that. Number one, because I'm a black man in this world and I couldn't get away with half of the shit Trump does. Are you serious here? Are you serious here? I'm not a billionaire. Number one, I'm not a billionaire and I'm not a white man, so I can't rape women. Ave Cree, who makes these lies? Let's see. The jury in New York who said that Trump is guilty of rape. The jury, yes, 12 jurors in New York came together. I know it's hard to understand, Ave Cree, because in India you don't have a jury system. You just have like a stinky, musty priest who gets up there, sacrifices a baby, throws them in the river, jacks off on a tree, and then decides who's guilty or innocent. Or you circumambulate the god Krishna 7 times and then ask for judgment, and then you decide to burn a woman at the stake. I know that's what happens in India, Ave Cree. I know you don't have a functioning justice system, Ave Cree. I know over there you still do human sacrifices and suck on cow dicks because you believe they're holy, Ave Cree. I know that's how you operate in India, but in America we have a justice system. And in the justice system, it was decided by our jury of Trump's peers that he raped a woman. So I can't do that. I hope you can't do that. And I hope nobody lusts after their own daughters. All right. Avery said, I'd rather vote for someone whose kids actually do not look like weirdos and have good heads on their shoulders. Trump's kids are way better than him. That's the American dream. Acti says, I'd rather be aborted than being Trump's daughter. Being a black woman, not a cultured woman, married to a white man, to not have kids with him or his own is not traditional. Barron Trump has been accused of killing animals. Let's talk about Barron Trump. There's a guy on Twitter right now who is the nanny for Barron Trump for years. Took pictures with him, is talking all about what he saw. Barron Trump, the 7-foot tall giant that crawled out of Melania's crotch, has been accused of killing animals, slapping his own maid, pulling knives out on kids he goes to school with. Barron Trump is American Psycho. Barron Trump is a psychopath. And let's not talk about the other kids too. Number one, Ivanka herself laughs it off when his dad says he wants to fuck his daughter. Number one, that's weird. That's weird. The whole Trump family is weird. Donald Trump Jr., the other one that he doesn't love, all of them go to Africa and kill animals, take pictures with like lion heads and shit like that. That's weird. That's weird stuff. That's weird stuff. No, I want to ask a poll. Would you leave? It's 1990. I'm gonna put this up in a poll. Let's make this a poll. Hold on, man. We're gonna make this a poll right here. I'm gonna start this poll. Start the poll. It's 19. It's 1994. Would you leave? Would you leave your daughter, your 18-year-old daughter, around Trump? It's 1994. Would you leave your 18-year-old daughter around Trump? Now, I know the Trump sycophants in here are going to say, yeah, Trump, please molest my daughter. Trump, please rape my daughter. Trump, please stick your hands in her pussy. I know you Trump sycophants would. I know you would let your 18-year-old daughter go to the Epstein, R. Kelly, Weinstein, Trump party. I know you would. Avery says he wouldn't leave him around no man. That's a lie. That's a lie. Okay. All right. I know the Trump sycophants would. I know the Trump sycophants would let their 18-year-old daughters be around a convicted rapist, a man who said, when you're a star, you can do it. I know that's what y'all want to do. But let's continue here. Let's continue reading about Trump's traditional values. I support tight interpretation of the Constitution, which means judges should stick to precedent and not write social policy. I represent traditional conservative values. I get up every morning and go to work. I work hard. I've been honest and I'm very successful. The billions I have, I earned every penny. When I was beginning my career, my father never gave me much money, but he gave me a great work ethic. It's hard to read this. Ave Cree says, keep deleting comments. I didn't delete your comments. I didn't delete your comments. Ave Cree, I'm letting you talk all you want. You can talk all you want in the comments. Anyway, but he gave me great work ethic. I always know a hater when they say my father gave me $200 million when I was starting out. I only wish. Number one, he didn't have that kind of money. In those days, all of Brooklyn wasn't worth $200 million. And number two, if he did, he would never have given it to me. When I wanted to leave Brooklyn and Queens and venture into Manhattan, he thought I was crazy. Nevertheless, he had confidence in me. I'll never forget when he told my incredible mother, look, I don't know if he is right or wrong, but I've got to let him do it. He has great ability and talent, and who knows, he may be able to pull it off. My father was a tough cookie, but he had a warm heart. He was a man who truly loved his wife and 5 children, Marianne, Elizabeth, Robert, Fred, and me. He always wanted what was best for us. He loaned me a small amount of money, loaned, not gave, around $1 million, money that I probably could have gotten from a bank. And the biggest part of my journey began. I paid my father back a few years later with full interest after my Manhattan deal started to come in, and very successfully. One of them, the Grand Hyatt Hotel, was a big hit, built by me on time and under budget. What I got was relative to what I had built, not that consequential. Name the number. Name the number. Name the number. Nice to have built, nice to have, but not a big money factor. I'm sure it was a few million. When your daddy dies and it leaves a few million, that's what rich people say. It wasn't consequential. That's like a very rich bourgeoisie answer. Bourgeoisie. When you ask a rich person how much money do they make, you know a person is really wealthy when they say, I'm comfortable or we're comfortable. It's inconsequential, the amount. When my father died and his estate taxes were paid. Come on now. Come on now. Anyway, nice to have, but not a big money factor. When he left me, much more importantly, were the best genes that anybody could get. He was a special man and father. The best genes? Who says this about their dad? This is weird. This is weird behavior. When my father died, the millions he left weren't important. It was the blonde hair and blue eyes he bestowed upon me. What is this? Who says this? Who says this type of stuff? It was the genes my father gave me. This is weird. This is weird stuff. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let's review the conservative scorecard and check the conservative scorecard. The conservative scorecard. Affordable health care, here's my word, and I never go back on my word. Obamacare needs to be repealed ASAP and replaced with something far better. Immigration reform, has anybody been more of a leader on this issue than me? My plan is simple. We need to build a wall and take back control of our country. Massive law enforcement on the borders. Legal immigrants should speak or learn English. Without it, they can never assimilate. Anchor babies, they're here for one day, and the child is entitled to a lifetime of benefits when others have spent a lifetime of their lives earning them. This needs to end. There are no benefits to being an American. We need to stop this rhetoric. Anchor babies. An anchor baby is just another slave to capitalism. An anchor baby is just another slave to capitalism. An anchor baby is just another slave to the American capitalist project. There are no benefits to being an American. Social security checks, $600 a month when you're 65 and you got to live till you're 90. Okay, that's it. Medicare, okay, wait in line while we try to make sure that we can treat your ailments. 4 months later, there are no benefits to being an American. We need to kill this. We need to kill this rhetoric. I hate this. I hate this. We will always protect the 14th Amendment because it's what our people fought for. When the white supremacists ended up killing each other during the Civil War, and then consequentially we got free from slavery, they didn't want to give us citizenship. We had to fight and die for them to even count us as citizens. Every person born in America should be a citizen, period. Period. It's a legacy. It's a legacy. It's one of the most it's one of the most beautiful things that comes from our history. All right. Anyway, continuing here. Avery says, that's all this is right, racist versus left gays. LML, I choose racism. Avery comes here to exercise his thoughts. Avery comes in here to just let it all out. I'd rather choose racism than the gays. That's crazy. That's literally crazy. I would rather see a Klan rally marching down my street than the Pride Parade. That's wild. That's wild. Anyway, I'd rather my kids be taught racism over gayism. Avery, you wildin'. You wildin'. You are absolutely wildin'. Since we don't have a choice to get rid of either. We can't. It's so hard. It's so hard to deal with y'all sometimes. We don't have a choice to get rid of either. Let's break this down. We don't have a choice to get rid of racism, but we can't get rid of gay people. Number one, racists bother other people. Let's make this absolutely clear. Racists harass, murder, terrorize, torture other people. Gay people just want pussy. The chubs and the chubby chasers, the bears, they just want to be left alone. But the racists want to fuck with people that have nothing to do with them, like Peyton Gentrin. This is like saying, Avery saying, who would you rather have, Peyton Gentrin, or RuPaul as a neighbor? Avery, who do you want? Do you want Peyton Gendron or RuPaul as a neighbor? Please answer that question. Please answer that question. Because RuPaul at least is going to bring you cookies. He's at least going to bring you snacks. He might update your wardrobe. Peyton Gentrin is going to kill your kids. You want Peyton Gentrin or RuPaul as a neighbor, Avery? Come on now. Anyway, Avery says, I just think there's no place in this world for homosexuality. Nothing good comes from being gay. You can't reproduce your purpose in this world. Is nothing. LOL. Racism and discrimination aren't the same. This is wild. This is wild. Nothing good has come from being gay. Some fire songs have been made by gay people. All right. I love me some Frank Ocean. I love Tyler, the Creator. I love some, man, there's what? Queen? What is it? Come on now. Freddie Mercury. Come on now. Come on now. Gay people have done a lot of good things in this world. Acne says, Avery, I hope you don't get your karma by having a gay son. What did gays ever do to you? Monkeypox and HIV kill people too. Wow. Wow. Okay. So, but slavery, right? That was gay people. Get on the boat. No. Anyway, Continuing here, I'm going to continue reading what Trump is saying. Anchor babies, they're here for one day, and the child is entitled to a lifetime of benefits when others have spent a lifetime of their lives earning them. This needs to end. The Iran deal, Iran cannot be allowed to build a nuclear weapon. That's not a threat, it's a statement of fact. Our allies and foes alike should take heed. The Second Amendment, I believe the rights of law abiding gun owners must be fully protected. Defense of religious freedom, I believe religious freedom is the most fundamental constitutional right we have and must be protected. Fix our broken tax system. There is no politician who understands our tax system like I do. It has to be changed to make it fair for all Americans and simplified. I am a strong, proud conservative. The biggest difference between me and all the do nothing politicians are who are all talk, no action. Those people constantly claiming they are more conservative than anyone else. I don't talk about things, I get things done. I am standing up for this country because our so called leaders haven't been able to. So the next time someone questions my conservative credentials, show them this list. All right. Anyway, Avery says, I pray I don't have a gay son. Well, I don't discrimination against them. I'm just racist against them. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. Continuing here, chapter 10 of Trump's book, Lucky to Be an American. I know how lucky I am. The day I was born, I had already won the greatest lottery on earth. I was born in the United States of America. With that came the amazing opportunities that every American citizen has. The right to become the best possible person you can be. The right to be treated equally with all other Americans. The right to speak freely, and by the way, I take the rights very seriously. The right to practice the religion of your choice the way you choose. The right to achieve as much as your own hard work and talent allow. The right to be secure in your home thanks to the greatest law enforcement agencies anywhere, and the privilege of raising your family knowing that you are protected by the men and women of the finest military forces in the world. I think my parents must have known how proud I would be to be an American. I was born on Flag Day, June 14th. I'll tell you how proud I am to be an American. You may have heard that I own a house in Palm Beach, Florida. It's called Mar-a-Lago, which means sea to lake. It has 128 rooms. It's listed as a National Historic Landmark because it is one of the most beautiful homes ever built. It was built by E.F. Hutton and his serial heiress wife, Marjorie Merriweather Post, in 1927. The land it sits on is reportedly the most valuable 20 acres of land in Florida. After I bought it, I wanted people to know how proud and grateful I am to be an American. So I decided to fly an American flag in front of my house, an American flag that nobody can miss, a flag fitting for this beautiful house. So I raised an extra large flag, 15 feet by 25 feet on an 80-foot high flagpole. Watching that flag catch the wind and fly proudly was a beautiful sight, except the city of Palm Beach decided my flag was too big. They claimed it exceeded zoning regulations. Who knew there was a law about the size of a flag you are allowed to fly? When I politely informed them that I had no intention of taking down my American flag, they began fining me $250 a day until I removed it. As I said at the time, the town council of Palm Beach should be ashamed of itself. They're fining me for putting up the American flag. The day you need a permit to put up an American flag, that will be a very sad day for this country. My guess is, that what I did next. I filed a lawsuit against the town for $25 million, claiming my First, Eighth, and 14th Amendment rights were being violated. As we wrote in that lawsuit, a smaller flag and pole on Mar-a-Lago's property would be lost given the property's massive size, look silly instead of making a statement, and most importantly, would fail to appropriately express the magnitude of Donald Trump's and the club's members' patriotism. Lawyers be filing everything, man. They be filing everything. Anyway, uh, uh, anyway, those fines added up to $120,000. By the time we had worked out a deal with the city, rather than paying the fine, I donated $100,000 to Iraq War veteran charities. I actually thought the issue was done, but in 2014, the city of Rancho Palos Verdes, California, wanted me to lower the 70-foot high flagpole flying over my golf course on the Pacific Ocean. One of the officials who wanted me to lower it admitted this flagpole now had become a symbol, and to the people in the community, this flag symbolizes patriotism. So we won that fight. As we all know, the flag is much more than a red, white, and blue cloth rectangle. It is a symbol to me, to you, and to the people around the world. It represents equality, hope, and fairness. It represents great courage and sacrifice. Everyone has heard me talking about our immigration problem. Well, there is an important reason that people are willing to risk their lives to get into the country. In 2015, more than 4.4 million people had applied and were waiting to legally emigrate to the United States. That list even includes more than 50,000 Iranians. For people coming from some countries, the estimated waiting period is 33 years. We also have somewhere between 12 and 15 million people here legally on green cards or temporary visas. Nobody knows how many illegal immigrants are here, but the usual estimate is more than 11 million people. For the last several years, I've been watching things change. Like most of you, I don't like what has been happening. I was asked by Chuck Todd on Meet the Press when the last time was that I thought America was living up to its promise. During the administration of Ronald Reagan, I said, it was a time when we felt so proud to be Americans. I've spent my entire career standing up for this country. There is a writer on a conservative site who doesn't like me at all. I understand that. These people all have their favorite politicians. But even while he was calling me some nasty names, he wrote, and tell me, why is Donald Trump the only candidate willing to unambiguously state that the first duty of American politicians is to American citizens? Would those who disagree kindly provide us with a list of other priorities showing us exactly where they think American citizens fall? I believe in always putting the interest of American citizens first. Always. There aren't any second or third places. That level of commitment is what has been missing for so long in our foreign policy, in our trade policy, in our immigration policy. Somewhere we started worrying too much about what other countries thought of us. Does anybody reading this believe that I'm concerned about making other countries feel good? They used to fear us. They used to want to be us. We were respected. Many years ago, my daughter Ivanka went to what was then Czechoslovakia to visit her mother's family. At that time, it was a communist country. She told me that the Czechs would tape American currency to the windshield of their cars, even if it was just a dollar bill, to show how proud they were to have anything from America. Even a $1 bill, they just wanted that association with America. Now they're laughing at us. There's an old phrase that sadly you rarely hear anymore, made in America. We will start saying this again in spades. We're unique. In case there's any doubt, that is exactly what I believe. One way I one way I have always shown my patriotism is by strongly supporting our military. We haven't been doing such a good job of that lately, but that needs to change. Our military must have all the manpower and the tools it needs to fulfill any mission. I like to say that the United States military should be so strong that we will never have to use it. I was absolutely horrified to find out that we have been sending our soldiers into combat situations without the best available protection. It wasn't so long ago that parents were raising money at home to buy additional available protection and sending it to their kids in combat. I couldn't believe it. We need to make this promise to our fighting forces. No American will ever go into the field unless he or she has the best equipment available and as much of it as needed. And when our troops come home, we are going to take good care of them. They are going to have the medical care they've earned. They are going to be respected for their service. That the way we treat our veterans today is a disgrace, and that needs to change. Unlike a lot of politicians, my active involvement with our veterans began more than 2 decades ago, when only about 100 spectators turned out to watch New York's annual Veterans Day parade. In that case, this country was celebrating the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II. 100 spectators, it was humiliating. It was an insult to those men and women who had literally saved the world for democracy. 100 people. Mayor Rudy Giuliani and I decided to do something about it. I donated a $1 million matching grant to finance a second parade. On November 11th, I walked down Fifth Avenue with 25,000 veterans, many of them dressed in their uniforms, as an estimated 1.4 million spectators cheered them. That was a parade worthy of their sacrifice, and one of New York's biggest ever. A month later, I was honored at the Pentagon at a lunch attended by the Secretary of Defense and the entire Joint Chiefs of Staff. Since that time, I've actively supported veterans' causes and hired veterans throughout my organization. Currently, the biggest crisis our veterans are facing is getting the medical care they were promised. We've got young men and women who come back from Iraq and Afghanistan and have to fight to get the treatment they need and were promised. We made a contract with all of our veterans and we're not delivering. How in the world can we talk about how much we love this country when we're not taking care of the people who protect us? In September, I said we need to take the existing system apart. We need to create a whole new system. We have to, and it will really work. The Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, is probably the most incompetently run agency in the U.S. government. And that's saying something. If it was one of my companies, the people running it would have been fired a long time ago. The problem is that there are too many political people involved within its operation. It is astonishing that illegal immigrants, in many cases, are treated better than our veterans. The taxpayers pay more than $150 billion a year for the VA. And what do we get for that? The Las Vegas Review Journal summed it up correctly in 2014, saying the Department of Veteran Affairs finally is under intense scrutiny for its bogus waiting list and the unconscionable treatment delays that have caused an untold number of preventable patient deaths. But new information shows that malfeasance, malpractice, and outright corruption within the VA is worse than Americans could have imagined. Much worse. That needs to end. Right now, the VA is being run by people who don't know what they're doing. They're getting more money from the government than ever before, and yet the care gets worse. The list of men and women waiting for care is growing, and their wait times are longer. How can the VA possibly be so inefficient? We need to put people in charge who know how to run big operations. We have to get the best managers and give them the power, the money, and the tools to get the job done. We owe our veterans nothing less. One way or another, we are going to take care of our veterans. If the VA hospitals can't do the job, then the veterans go to private doctors, private hospitals. The government will reimburse those doctors and those hospitals because we must fulfill our obligation to our veterans. Finally, jobs. What kind of country sends their young men and women off to fight for them and then, when they come back, tells them, sorry, but while you were gone, other people got all the jobs? Getting a good job is hard, but it's even more difficult for a veteran. Too many veterans find themselves struggling to find an opportunity. They have been out of the job market, often for several years. So we need a program that recognizes the sacrifices they made for all of us and puts them right back in the middle of the job market. Being born in this country is a matter of luck. Being grateful and proud of this country and what it represents and honoring the people who have protected it is a privilege I am proud to share with all Americans. Avery said he's spitting. He's spitting, and I agree. You know, the interesting thing about America, there has been no generation of Americans that has not had disabled, wounded war veterans. There has never been a time in our history since the creation of America that we have not had a generation of people living amongst us who have seen war and then come back from it, right? Other countries don't have this. In Turkey, they don't have this. They don't have a generation of people that remember going to Iraq, Afghanistan, the Balkans in mass. All right? All right. So the interesting thing about our country is that we're constantly living with traumatized people amongst us. Trust me, I know my friend George killed himself because he went to Iraq, Afghanistan, and all that sort of stuff and didn't get the right treatment. The crazy thing is, the Republicans, on one hand, say we need to treat our veterans better, but at the same time, they continue to give more money to the Pentagon to continue to destabilize other regions so that we can create wars in other countries. And they also, at the same time, defund the VA. Let's make this absolutely clear. Trump might be spitting because throughout this book, he's saying the stuff that we all agree with. We all agree that we need to fund education. We need to build infrastructure. We want more American jobs. We all agree with that. But the reality is the conservative Republicans just pay lip service to this. Because the one thing that they want to do consistently over and over again is continue to cut the budget, continue to cut spending. So, of course, the VA is not going to get funded. Every president says, we're going to fund the VA, we're going to take care of the VA, and then they get in there and they do nothing for it, right? That's a fact. That's a fact. But the first and foremost thing, because Americans always are living with generations of people who have seen active war, how about for at least 2 generations, we don't meddle in other people's countries? You don't like the Venezuelans, the Nicaraguans, the El Salvadorians, the Mexicans coming to America. How about we stop destabilizing their countries? Let's stop doing all of the things that we've been doing to try to make a better world for everybody. You get what I'm saying? I'll continue here. So the right to bear arms. Okay, Trump talking about guns. All right. Avery says Trump gave the military $2 billion when I was in it. It made a difference. I witnessed it firsthand. And that's the thing. That's the point I'm talking about. I'm glad you admitted that because we shouldn't be giving the military $2 billion. We don't need an overinflated military budget. We don't need that. So thank you for admitting that, Avery. We don't need to continue to invest in weapons of war when we have crumbling bridges. We don't need to continue to invest in military bases in damn near every continent when we have people in America going hungry. $2 billion. Avery says, I'd rather have military over food stamps. Get a job. See, it's easy for a military person to say this because they live in permanent socialism. In the military, you get free health care, free housing, free transportation, free food. Oh, but the only sacrifice is you got to give up your life, right? Easy for a person who lives in socialist utopia, communist utopia, the military, to tell us regular civilian Americans, yeah, just get a job. Just get a job. You got the government literally paying for everything. Every soldier is literally a welfare queen. Let's repeat, everybody in the military is a welfare queen because they get everything for free. Pensions, housing, trips, travel. You get flued out. You get flued out by Uncle Sam. And then you want to tell us civilians, get a job. When all of us are working 3, 4, 5 jobs, barely making ends meet. Private equity is buying all the homes in America. Rent is going up, all that sort of stuff. And while y'all are living in communist socialist utopia, y'all tell us, get a job. What do you mean you don't have health care? You don't see your doctor 3 times a week like I do in the military? What do you say? Avery says, well, I never got any of those things. Only for 3 to 6 months. Active duty is, I agree. I wasn't active duty. Either way, if you're a reservist, you're still getting added benefits, right? I have 4 jobs, been at 4 jobs while I was in the military, and I have had individual health care since I was 18. That's hard. That's hard. But not as many people are as fortunate and blessed as you. Not as many people are as fortunate and blessed as you. And we should care for other people. We should care for other people. Anyway, let's hear about the New Yorker, Trump, talking about carrying guns. All right. Yeah. All right, the right to bear arms. The Second Amendment is clear to me. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. The fact that the founding fathers made it the Second Amendment, second only to our First Amendment, freedom of speech, religion, the press, and the right of assembly and to petition the government, shows that they understood how important the right to bear arms would be for all Americans. James Madison pointed out that this right was a unique historical protection when he said that the Constitution preserves the advantage of being armed, which the American possesses over the people of almost every other nation, where the governments are afraid to trust the people with arms. We all enjoy this fundamental right in order to defend ourselves and our families. The founding fathers knew it was essential to a free society and passed this amendment to make sure the government could never take it or our arms away. Throughout history, we've seen oppressive governments consolidate and ensure their control over those they govern by taking away the means necessary for citizens to defend themselves. I own guns. Fortunately, I never had to use them. But believe me, I feel a lot safer knowing that they are there. I also have a concealed carry permit that allows me to carry a concealed weapon. You think Trump is carrying the strap? Because he was lacking when Thompson Crooks tried to pop his head. Trump, you said you got the strap. Where was the strap when Thompson tried to take your head off? Thomas tried to take your head off. Sorry. Thomas Matthew Crooks tried to pop you, boy. Where was the strap then? You was lacking. You were lacking. All right. Avery says he's trolling. He cares for other people except the gays. Okay. I can't. Anyway, I also have a concealed carry permit that allows me to carry a concealed weapon. I took the time and the effort to get that permit because the constitutional right to defend yourself doesn't stop at the end of your driveway. That doesn't apply just to me either. It applies to all of our driveways or front doors. That's why I'm very much in favor of making all concealed carry permits valid in every state. Every state has its own driving test that residents have to pass before becoming licensed to drive. Those Those tests are different in many states, but once the state licenses you to drive, every other state recognizes that license as valid. If we can do that for driving, which is a privilege, not a right, then surely we can do that for concealed carry, which is a right, not a privilege. That seems logical to me. The Second Amendment has been under attack for a long time. Throughout the years, state governments have chipped away at it, adding restrictions. No other right in the Bill of Rights has been attacked as often as the Second Amendment. Some of these restrictions obviously make sense. For example, felons and mentally ill people should not have access to guns. Thank you. So Trump lost his concealed carry permit. You think that was on the top of his mind when he got convicted of a felony? Oh no, I have to give up my concealed carry permits. Anyway, a purpose of a gun, among other things, is to offer protection, to warn those people who would try to harm us that we are carrying a weapon and that we will use it. In order to protect the Second Amendment, there are several significant steps we need to take. Most important, we need to start getting serious about prosecuting violent criminals. Sometimes it looks to me like the Obama administration has made only a token effort to take violent offenders off our streets. The problem is compounded by the pressure being put on police departments by community organizations who seek to make our police do their jobs with one hand tied behind their backs. Violent crime in our inner cities is out of control. Murder rates are way up. There are far too many hardened drug dealers and gang members who are repeatedly involved in burglaries and drive-by killings. We need to get them off the streets so they don't continue to terrorize their neighborhoods and ruin more lives. Here's an example of what can work. In 1997, a program called Project Exile was started in Richmond, Virginia. It mandated that if a criminal was caught committing a crime with a gun, he had to be tried in federal court rather than city or state court. If convicted, there was a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years in a federal prison without a chance of parole or early release. This was such a sensible program that it was supported by both the NRA and the Brady campaign, sponsors of the Brady Bill, which had fought for restricted gun ownership. The Project Exile program was enacted and it worked. This message was posted on billboards around the city. An illegal gun gets you 5 years in federal prison. In the first year, homicides and armed robberies declined by about a third, and 350 armed criminals were taken off the streets. A decade later, when the primary elements of the program had been supplemented by a somewhat less tough state law, the number of homicides in Richmond had still been cut by more than half. Why is this important to law-abiding gun owners? First of all, it offers an intelligent approach to reducing crime, something we all want. Second, it clearly shows that guns are not the problem. Dangerous, unstable criminals are the problem. The problem is, if you're going to lock up people in federal court for having guns, which is supposed to be a right? But committing crimes while having guns, right? Because nobody likes armed, violent robberies or violent crimes with guns in America, right? Saying that somebody has to do 5 years in federal prison is a major tax burden. I thought the Republicans were all about small government, shrink the size of government, less money, less taxpayer money being wasted. To keep somebody in jail is 6 figures a year, $100,000 plus in federal prison per year, per person. So if you're locking up thousands and thousands of people for 5 years and each one costs $500,000, that's millions of dollars of the taxpayer money being wasted. It's like the Republicans literally say one thing but mean something else. Let's cut the government. Let's cut tax spending. Let's cut tax expenditures. But at the same time, let's fill up the fucking federal prisons. Make it make sense. All right. Trump said never lacking, keep it packing. He don't have a gun no more. He became a felon and he can't even tote a strap. Continuing here. Why is this important to law-abiding gun owners? First of all, it offers an intelligent approach to reducing crime, something we all want. Second, it clearly shows that guns are not the problem. Dangerous, unstable criminals are the problem. No, guns are the problem. The more guns we have in society, the more homicides we have. Poland doesn't have this problem. Germany doesn't have this problem. France doesn't have this problem. But America has this problem with guns because we are obsessed with worshiping the pistol. Continuing here, the anti-gun lobby still seems to be confused about this distinction. We don't need to keep guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens. We need to crack down harder on the career criminals who traffic in guns illegally. Programs like Project Exile will make our communities safer. Another important way to fight crime is to create an environment where our law enforcement officers are appreciated for all the work they do, as opposed to being singled out and criticized for the few bad officers who give police a bad name. I realize and deeply regret regret those situations where a police officer acted poorly under pressure and used unnecessary force. These incidents always draw much more attention than the exemplary police work that goes on day to day. Let's be clear about one thing. Our police do an amazing job in dealing with all the potentially explosive situations they face on a daily basis. We know, for example, that most crime is committed locally, within a neighborhood or even a household, where an argument can escalate into violent anger and action. Who gets called into these situations? The police, of course. It is their job to rush in and calm things down. They are protecting neighborhood residents from the criminals in their midst. Detectives have to pick up the pieces when a robbery or murder occurs so that the perpetrators of crimes can be brought to justice. Our law enforcement officers are very professional and well trained. Ultimately, protecting ourselves and our families is our own responsibility. I know that. We have to be alert and report suspicious strangers or packages. We have to create community boards that can work in tandem, not in gotcha mode, when dealing with local authorities. As relatives and friends, we have to be vigilant when someone close to us is suddenly showing deep signs of depression or erratic behavior while posting threats on social networks. We also have the right to protect ourselves with gun ownership. It's as fundamental as choosing our type of religious worship or allowing the press to be critical of our government. I want all the non-Americans here to pay attention. This is how Americans think about guns. Having a gun is as important to us as our religious identity or our ability to speak freely. I want everybody to think about this who is a non American. In your country, do people think about the fucking gun this way? I was in my class a few days ago with my Hungarian students in an in-person class, three Hungarian girls. I was sitting there with them. And then I had this Hungarian girl who's 14 years old. And she told me, yeah, in the summer, I went to France and I was working at a bar selling drinks. And I said, yo, that's kind of crazy. Because in America, that would never happen. You would never see a 14-year-old selling drinks at a bar in France. And she said, yeah, but at least, it's not like in America where we have guns, like we all have guns. Like, you think that's normal? Like, she really flipped it on me. This 14, and by the way, in class, I didn't bring up anything about guns. I totally divorced my politics, my personal politics from my classroom teaching. I never go in there and start, trying to propagandize or indoctrinate the children. I don't do that. But this 14-year-old girl said to me, you think it's weird I was selling drinks at a bar in France, but you don't think it's weird that an 18-year-old in your country can have a gun. She said this to me, little Hungarian girl. I was shocked. I was taken aback. And then I had to realize and check myself like, yeah, she really does have a point. She does have a point. And then I showed them because she opened the door. Because if anybody wants to talk to me about gun violence, I could talk to them about it all day. So I showed them massshootingtracker.com, my favorite website in the whole world. Why not look at that? Mass shooting tracker. I showed her the website and we started talking. And yeah, it's just a shit show in America. Let's talk about it. So, 403 mass shootings in 2024. This year, 6,351 mass shootings since January 1st, 2013, and only one day since a mass shooting in America. A mass shooting is when three or more people are shot. Three or more people are shot, including the shooter. So here are the recent mass shootings in America. Let's run through them real quick. Jackson, Mississippi. August 17th, 2024. One dead, five injured. Gunman, unknown, still running around. Colorado Springs, August 14th. One person dead, three injured. Gunman unknown, still running around. August 14th, San Antonio, Texas. Zero dead, five injured. Juvenile victims, three juveniles, ages 4 through 8 years old among the wounded. Gunman unknown. Waianae, Hawaii. One dead, three injured. Domestic victims. Gunman shot and seriously wounded three people after chasing his girlfriend into a neighbor's home after a domestic argument. Unidentified man fatally shot by police. Petersburg, Virginia. Zero dead, four injured. Gunman unknown, still running around. So this is an epidemic in America. Meanwhile, Trump is here saying this wild stuff. Yeah, this is our right to have guns. This is what we need in America, is to have guns. Continuing here. So we also have the right to protect ourselves with gun ownership. It's as fundamental as choosing our type of religious worship or allowing the press to be critical of our government. What is foolish and unnecessary is the media criticism that immediately ties a well publicized crime to the gun rather than the criminal. There are a number of steps that can be taken that will benefit all Americans, including the millions of law abiding gun owners, as well as those people who believe wrongly that guns are the source of our crime problems. We have to keep guns out of the hands of people with mental health issues. The fact that people with mental health problems can obtain guns is not right. We all agree about that and we have to stop it. But there are some big hurdles. Let's deal with reality. Our mental health system is broken and it needs to be fixed. Politicians have ignored this issue because it is such a complex problem and it might cost some big money. But the fact is, we need to fix this problem now. Many of the mass murders that have taken place in this country over the last several years have one glaring fact in common. There were red flags that were ignored and warning signs about the future murderers that were ignored. Parents and close friends, even Facebook friends, chose not to say anything or to look the other way. Denial is not responsible behavior. Most people with mental health problems aren't violent. They just need help. We have to invest the money and resources to expand treatment programs that can provide that help. But there are people who are violent. They are a danger to the community and they are a danger to themselves. There are people who should be institutionalized and not living on the streets. Judges say that they are entitled to their rights, which of course is true. They are entitled up to the point when they become dangerous to others and themselves. Then the situation changes. Then we have to protect the rights of young children going innocently to school or families out for a relaxing evening or at a movie. Uh, why is the why is this important to law-abiding gun owners? Because you are the citizens, the anti-gun movement, and the media blame when a deranged madman uses a gun to commit a horrific act. When one of these tragedies occurs, you can be sure two things are going to follow. First, opponents of gun rights will immediately exploit the situation to push their anti-gun agenda. And second, none of their proposed restrictions would have prevented the tragedy from taking place. We need real solutions to solve real problems. We don't need advocates of useless gun restrictions taking advantage of emotional situations to push their agenda. So how can we protect and extend the rights of law-abiding gun owners? We accomplish that by educating all Americans about the facts. For example, there has been a long and expensive campaign to find different ways to ban guns or gun hardware. In effect, just get rid of guns. That's the answer gun control advocates give. This tactic is a road to nowhere. Opponents of gun rights often use a lot of scary descriptive phrases when proposing legislative action against various types of weapons. Ban assault weapons, they say, or military style weapons, or high capacity magazines. Those all do sound a little ominous until you understand what they are actually talking about are common, popular semi automatic rifles and standard magazines that are owned and used by tens of millions of Americans, unfortunately. I worry when our social policy makers looking for a cause pick on guns. The Supreme Court has made it clear that the government simply has no business and, in fact, no right to dictate to gun owners what types of firearms law abiding Americans are allowed to own. Gun owners should be allowed to purchase the best type of weapons for their needs, whether it's for self protection, sport, shooting, or any other purpose. Go into the comments here. Acti says, the thing I don't understand is why are Americans okay with living on the edge? Should they constantly be looking for red flags to not die? That's a major thing, too. It's so common. It's very common. Even now, when I'm in Hungary, even when I've been abroad, I'm looking at large spaces and thinking like it could go down any moment. You get what I'm saying? Because that's how my mind is wired. I'm in parties, posted on the wall because I'm trying to focus on the door to see. I always got my eye on the exit and stuff like that. Like being an American conditions you to be ready at all times for somebody to just instantly start shooting. And we think this is normal. We think it's normal for us to have a weekend with mass violence all across the country where children, women, men, teenagers die every single year. We think it's normal. Americans are so cucked. Even rich billionaires who are supposedly funding their own campaigns, who come from a New York City, one of the safest places in the nation, because they make gun ownership so hard in New York City. He is so cucked. Even he is believing he has to stand up for gun rights. How Americans think is really sick. Um, Acti says you have to be alert all the time. Like that's just insane stress. I don't get it. Avery says it's the cost of being the best. Okay. Okay. How is that the best? Living like you're in a battlefield all the time, says Acti. We are not in a battlefield. I was safe in the hood and where I live now. We take battle to other countries. Nobody would dare come to our land. We know everyone else is scary. The only place who is as crazy as us is Japan, and they are on our side after destroying them. Okay. Okay. Listen, man. Listen, man. Listen. In America, of course, there are safe places because nobody would live there, of course, if it was Somalia. The thing is, though, we commercialize and normalize the violence. We allow rap music to make us think, let's sing along to our death and destruction. You know, in other countries, low key, I don't like other countries' music because it's not as exciting. The stuff that they're rapping about in France, in Italy, in Britain, bruv, man them said he got knife. Men them want to take my life. No, I can't rock with that. I can't rock with that. I'm from I'm from that Tupac generation. My fofo make sure all your kids don't grow. You get what I'm saying? Like other people's music is not as exciting. Because in America we live with so much death. We've created a whole genre of music. Death metal, hip hop, gangster rap, all centered around death and violence and bloodshed. You get what I'm saying? We normalize and commercialize it so much. This website makes money. Mass Shooting Tracker tracks how many people get shot and killed in America every single day and makes money doing it because that's normal. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, continuing here. Avery says, I know my world history, so let's make it clear. Every other country secretly wants to BS. Mostly not every person, but the masses, yes. Okay. Do they want to BS? By us, do you mean black Americans? Yes, I agree with you, Avery. Every country wants to be black Americans. They want to be a proud people, a well renowned people, an artistically achieving people. You get what I'm saying? The whole world does want to be black Americans. They want to turn their hat backs and sag their pants and say, yo, 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 to the mother. Yes, I agree with you 1,000%. Does the world want to be America? No. Because I just told the story about the 14-year-old Hungarian girl. And if you didn't catch that story, just rewind this about 10 minutes ago. But no, the whole world does not want to be us. The whole world does not want their country sold out to the gun lobby and the private health insurers. No. All right. Acti says, sorry to crash your dreams, but recently every young person I've talked to is talking about how scary it is in the U.S., says Acti. Okay. And where are black Americans in the U.S.? So the U.S. is the best. Simple. Yes, black America is the best. Yes, I agree with you, Avery. Finally, we agree on something. High five. Let's go. Anyway, so I worry when our social policy makers looking for a cause pick on guns. The Supreme Court has made it clear that the government simply has no business and, in fact, no right to dictate to gun owners what types of firearms law-abiding Americans are allowed to own. Gun owners should be allowed to purchase the best type of weapons for their needs, whether it's for self-protection, sports shooting, or any other purpose. There has been a lot of speculation about background checks, as if researching the background of everyone attempting to legally purchase a gun will somehow keep guns out of the hands of criminals. The national background check system has been in place since 1998. Every time a gun is purchased from a federally licensed gun dealer, which is how the overwhelming majority of all gun purchases take place, they have to go through a federal background check. Unfortunately, as expected, bringing more government regulation into the situation has accomplished very little. The main benefit has been to make it difficult for a law-abiding American to buy a gun. As study after study has proven, few criminals are stupid enough to try to pass a background check or have their names in any kind of system. So they get their guns the same way bad guys have always gotten their guns, by stealing them or by buying them from an unlicensed source or getting them from family and friends. This system is another example of federal regulation that has turned into a complete failure. When the system was put in place, gun owners were promised it would be instant, accurate, and fair. That isn't what has happened at all. One final caveat, we need to allow our military members to carry firearms on bases and at recruiting centers. What? What? This is insane. So, Avery, you're a military guy. Do you think this is a good idea? We need to allow our military members to carry firearms on bases and at recruiting centers. As we have seen, our current policies leave our military members and their families defenseless on their own bases. They can be sitting ducks for one crazy person with a machine gun. Avery, what do you think about? That's a good idea. allow a bunch of 18, 19, 20, 25, 26, 30-year-old people with all sorts of PTSD and stress to carry guns all the time? That's insane. Literally crazy. That's a good idea. That sounds like the word. That sounds like, hey, let's give everybody in the crazy house a gun. I wouldn't even want people working like in the most calm place, like a language teaching school. Imagine I'm working at my language teaching school. Everybody, everybody here is just teaching English, minding their own business. I wouldn't even want people carrying guns there. What if one teacher has a bad day or one student gets a bad grade? Hell no. Hell no, that's crazy. That's literally crazy. It's crazy. All right. Avery says, I disagree with everyone having a gun. Okay. But you want active military members on bases walking around with their guns. I think that's crazy. Anyway, as we have seen, our current policies leave our military members and their families defenseless on their own bases. Now, I know Trump is referring to another mass shooting that happened in America when there was a military member who went on base and like killed like 6 or 7 soldiers. I believe this happened at Fort Hood or something like that. There was a mass shooting on a military base, but that says more about the overwhelming militaristic culture of America and the gun ownership culture in America. Like, this is insane. It's crazy how we think about guns. In the end, we must understand and appreciate why the right to keep and bear arms is so essential for law-abiding citizens, and we must recognize that the red tape proposed to infringe upon that right is a tremendous waste and possible danger to us all. My sons Donald and Eric are members of the NRA, and so am I, and proud of it. Okay. All right. What a cuck. All right. Um, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna finish up chapter 12. This is the final chapter we're gonna read. So far, this has been a very annoying book. It's been one of the most annoying books I've ever read. I'm doing all of this for y'all. This is literal fan service here. So if y'all don't appreciate this, y'all can eat my whole dick. Y'all can go somewhere. Y'all can unsubscribe because I would have never read this book if I did not find out my audience was fascist, homophobic, racist, Islamophobic. Because the internet attracts the loudest and dumbest people who don't read books, I thought, you know what would be a good thing? Service y'all with the Trump book. So y'all welcome. But I'll just say this. After this, we're going to read Kamala's memoir. Then after this, we're going to read J.D. Vance's memoir. Then after that, we're going to read Tim Walz's memoir. Then hopefully the Republican platform policies, and then the Democratic platform policies, and anything else that comes out of either campaign. So as a means to try to inform the voters in America. Right, a lot of people have already made up their minds regarding who they support, who they don't support, whatever, whatever. But it's still important to be involved and learn and educate yourself. Do something that even Trump didn't do, which is actually read a book. All right. Oh God, Avery's over here singing Lee Greenwood. What's the name of the song? Proud to be an American. Anyway, this is the final chapter we're going to read. Our infrastructure is crumbling. There are some things so obvious that even Joe Biden can see them. That's funny. That's funny. That's funny. He was taking shots at Joe Biden when he was the vice president. Anyway, take, for example, the state of our country's infrastructure. Vice President Biden once said, if I blindfolded someone and took him at 2 o'clock in the morning into the airport in Hong Kong and said, where do you think you are? They'd say, this must be America. It's a modern airport. But if I blindfolded you and took you to LaGuardia Airport in New York, you think I must be in some third world country. The good news is that London Bridge isn't falling down. But that bridge, which is now located in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, may be the only bridge in America that isn't in danger of falling. Our airports, bridges, water tunnels, power grids, rail systems, our nation's entire infrastructure is crumbling, and we aren't doing anything about it. Former Secretary of Transportation Ray LaHood knows all about this and got it right when he said, If we are going to have safe transportation systems in America, you have to invest in them. We haven't done that. He described our way of dealing with this problem as the limp along, go along system. There's no vision, no leadership in Washington to fix it. And they are trying to put band aids and duct tape and other things on these fixes, and they simply do not work. This country's infrastructure is falling apart. According to engineers, one out of every 9 bridges in the country is structurally deficient. Approximately a quarter of them are already functionally obsolete, and almost a third of them have exceeded their design lives. Some of these bridges have already collapsed. Barry LaPanter, who wrote a book about this topic, said the following: Since 1989, we've had more than 600 bridge failures in this country, and a large number of bridges in every state are really a danger to the traveling public. Our infrastructure is terrible, and it's only getting worse and more expensive to fix. It's already costing the American people an estimated $200 billion a year in reduced productivity. That number is increasing annually. Instead of being at the office or in the factory getting work done, Americans waste countless hours every day sitting in traffic jams or waiting for stalled trains. We depend on our truckers to deliver the goods we need, and they end up wasting an unbelievable amount of time because our highway system is falling apart. I used to think the traffic jams in New York were the worst anywhere in the country. They're not even close anymore. The problems are everywhere. Our roads are corroded with potholes. Our airports, are you kidding me? A disgrace. When Joe Biden sees it, you know it's bad. If you land at LaGuardia, it feels like the wheels of the aircraft have come off. I fly in from China or from Qatar, and it's as if I've come from a different world. It isn't just LaGuardia, which, by the way, is finally getting billions of dollars to rebuild. This is a coast to coast problem. Los Angeles International Airport is an entirely different kind of disaster. Our power grid, the infrastructure for electricity that keeps everything operating, is way out of date. There's simply no way it will be able to meet our power needs in the future. Our high speed internet access is only 16th best in the world. When I travel internationally, I see magnificent places you wouldn't believe. I see properly maintained bridges, tunnels, and airports. I see great highways and unbelievably efficient power systems. Then I come home and I get caught in traffic. And when the car moves, it bangs over potholes. It never seems to get better. I wonder, why can't we get these problems fixed? The answer is that the people we put in charge don't know how to fix them. We're spending billions of dollars protecting countries that should be paying us to do the job, yet we can't build roads in our own cities. We can't build schools in our own communities. I've been to China numerous times, and everywhere you look, there are cranes reaching toward the sky. The Chinese build new cities over there in about 12 minutes, while we take years to get the permits to add a dormer window to our new homes. And I'm sure Trump has seen the compilation videos of Chinese infrastructure fails. Trust me, there are threads on 4chan, on Chaotic, all day, videos and clips, all on Twitter and X and stuff like that, of Chinese infrastructure falling apart. 12-minute city, you can keep that, China. That's an innovation that can stay in your homeland. The World Economic Forum ranks the U.S. infrastructure as only the 12th best in the world, behind countries like Spain, the Netherlands, and the United Arab Emirates. Part of the reason is that we don't spend enough to fix it, build, or maintain our plants. Europe and China spend as much as 9% of their GDP on infrastructure projects. We spend 2.4%. When you talk about building, you had better talk about Trump. There is no single builder in this country who has his name on as great a range of projects as I've constructed. New York City wasted 7 years trying to get a skating rink done. I did it in less than 4 months and got it done under budget. There was a huge railroad yard overlooking the Hudson River and that nobody could figure out how to develop. Drive by there now and you'll see thousands of magnificent apartments, all with the same name on the buildings. Trump. Think about 40 Wall Street, one of the greatest buildings in New York City. For a brief time, along with the Chrysler Building, it was one of the 2 tallest buildings in the world, and it had fallen into disrepair. It was awful. That couldn't rent office space there. They couldn't rent office space there. I bought 40 Wall Street and completely redid it. Now it is a classic and, by the way, 100% rented and a very profitable building. My home in Palm Beach, Mar-a-Lago, was one of the greatest mansions in the country, but its previous owner, the United States government, had let it deteriorate. Nobody had the vision to see what it could be once again. I restored it, rebuilt it, and now go online and you can see what I've accomplished there. We bought the property back to the greatness it once was and then made it better. The same can be true of our country. In Washington, D.C., I'm converting the old post office building on Pennsylvania Avenue into one of the world's greatest hotels. I got the building from the General Services Administration, GSA. Many people wanted to buy it, but the GSA wanted to make sure whoever they sold it to had the ability to turn it into something special. So they sold it to me. I got it for four reasons. Number one, we're really good. Number two, we had a really great plan. Number three, we had a great financial statement. Number four, we're excellent, not just very good, at fulfilling or even exceeding our agreements. The GSA, who are true professionals, saw that from the beginning. That's the way the country should be run. Fixing our infrastructure will be one of the biggest projects this country has ever undertaken. There isn't going to be a second chance to get it right. Let me ask you, if your own house was falling down and you had to hire someone to fix it before it completely collapsed, who would you hire? A guy who tells you what he's planning to do, or a guy who has proven what he can do countless times before? In America, our house is falling down. Numerous times I've developed project after project. I raise the money, solve endless problems, bring in the right people, and get it done. Those are four-word politicians. Those are four words politicians can't use. I get it done. I can't read, guys. I'm losing my tongue. I'm going to get it right, though. Hold on. Anyway, those are four words politicians can't use. I get it done. There isn't any doubt that we are going to have to find a way to deal with our infrastructure problems if we want to be the greatest economy in the world. Our economy requires movement, literally and figuratively, and we need the infrastructure that can support and promote that movement. All right. Acti wrote something, but she deleted it. I don't know what she said. Acti says, so he does great house flips. How does that make him a good president? Exactly. Like building infrastructure, building bridges, roads, high speed rail, and all that stuff. You know, the things about the U.S. government, it's like things should be done without profit involved. One thing that I hate when people say, Avery just said this. Business is the bedrock of a free market. And Acti said he's mega rich. Of course, it's easy for him, right? One thing that I hate when people say is that America should be run like a business. No, America should be run like a nonprofit organization, a good one, not a scammy one. We don't need capitalists in charge because he's doing everything for a profit motive. Because when somebody comes to Trump and says, Trump, we need to build Mr. President, I'm going to do it in the Trump way. Mr. President, you won't believe this. We need to build new bridges. Mr. President, it's going to cost $3 billion to rebuild all the bridges in Nevada. And Trump is going to say, well, what's the upside? How are we going to be in the black for this? And then they're going to say, Mr. President, we're not going to gain any money from this. This is an investment in the country, in the nation. And he's going to say, oh, no, let's not do it. Because the thing about running government, it is not a business. It is a non-profit organization. It should be run like an NGO. You are doing things for the nation, for the people, where you are not expecting to get money back or a return on investment back. It's to improve people's quality of life, not boost GDP. Okay? All right. Acti says it doesn't contribute to the daily life of regular folk. The stuff he does only makes the rich richer. Avery says you don't want to be rich or well off for your children. It benefits him. It benefits every American. We want to be rich. We want to be rich and we want to be successful. Trust me, that's why I grind hard every day at my jobs, working hard as an English teacher, working hard as a writer for culturalist theory, working hard, grinding, going back to school. Of course, we want to be rich. We want to be successful. We want to be happy to take care of our families. But what we don't want to do is become disconnected to the idea that something is bigger than ourselves, that just the attainment and the accumulation of capital is all there is to life. All there is to life is not just money, 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 more and more and more. Give me, like Donald Trump thinks. There's more to life than that. And that's what's missing here. That's what's missing here. Think about this. The conservative Republicans in America all proclaim to be Christian. They all proclaim to be Christian. But everything they do has a capital incentive. Everything they do is circled around money. What did Jesus say about the rich man going to heaven? It would be harder for a camel to walk through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go to heaven. Be harder for a rich man to go to heaven than a camel walking through the eye of a needle. At the end of days, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first, and the meek shall inherit the earth. These were the words of the Savior that all the conservative Christian Republican conservatives believe, but all of their policies align with give everything to Caesar. Give everything to Caesar. Money, 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 more, 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 give, give, give to me, and fuck, 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 fuck you. This is how Christian conservative Republicans in America think. And this is all that we've been hearing from Trump's horrible, horrible, horrendous book. Anyway, all right, I'm going to continue here. But let's be real, handouts hurt black Americans too. Avery, I have to ask you, did the handouts hurt white Americans? I have to ask you, Avery, when America had a policy written in law that said if you were white, you showed up on the boat and you decided to move to Missouri, you got 30,000 acres of land free. Did the handouts hurt white people? Did the handouts hurt white people when they said Oregon is only for white people for hundreds of years? Close to 200 years, white man can show up in Oregon and no niggas allowed in Oregon. Did the handouts hurt white people when after World War II, when black and white people helped defeat the fascists and the Nazis, and then the white folks came back and they got free schooling and also damn near free houses? Did the handouts hurt the white folks? See, this is the thing. This is the thing that happens to black MAGA. In their mind, whenever the government does anything good or possibly could do anything for black people, that's a hurt for us. But anytime the government does anything specifically for white people, which they have done for centuries, that's okay. That's okay. When the government gave out free land, free money, free housing, free education to the whites, that was okay. Okay, so I'm asking you, those type of handouts hurt us. Those handouts that the whites got were great, which is not good. We did it. That don't even make no sense. That don't make no sense. What you're saying now literally makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. Those type of handouts hurt us. Those which, what the fuck are you saying? That makes no sense. Welfare is not good long term. Welfare is what the whites got, and they're doing pretty damn well. Avery said welfare is not good. Welfare is what the whites got, and they're doing pretty damn good. I want what the whites got. I want some free land. I want to show up and just have a whole state to myself. I want to show up, and then after the Civil War, when black people are finally enfranchised and they have the right to vote, I want the right to overthrow the government because I just don't like it, like what happened in North Carolina, and basically install white supremacists to bring in Jim Crow. I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. I want what the whites got. Give me what white man's got. I want that type of white privilege. So I can say some stupid shit to people. Hey, you shouldn't ask for a handout. After that, that's what I want. I want that. I want that. Continuing here. In America, our house is falling down. Numerous times, I've developed project after project. I raise the money, solve endless problems, bring in the right people, and get it done. Those are 4 words politicians can't use. I get it done. There isn't any doubt that we are going to have to find a way to deal with our infrastructure problems if we want to be the greatest economy in the world. Our economy requires movement, literally and figuratively, and we need the infrastructure that can support and promote that movement. When you are getting ready to start the greatest long-term building project in American history, you better have the right person in charge. You need someone who has done it before and who isn't intimidated to take on that tremendous weight. And I don't lose to them. Different people might approach complex problems like this differently. There are people who look at a problem like this and shake their heads, thinking that it can't be done. There is a name for people like that, governor. Then there are people who talk about the issue, throw around other people's money, and maybe even show you drawings. There's a name for those people too, senator. For me, fixing the country's infrastructure would be a major priority project. I was speaking to thousands of people in New Hampshire. And when a nice young man asked me what I thought about the project being planned to send humans to Mars, I think it's wonderful, I told him. But I want to rebuild our infrastructure first on Earth, okay? I mean, I don't understand how we can put a man on the moon, but we can't fix the potholes on the way to O'Hare International Airport. Where are our priorities? Before we build bridges to Mars, let's make sure the bridges over the Mississippi River aren't going to fall down. I love difficult challenges. Nobody responds better than I do when I'm told that something can't be done. What other people see as a terrible problem, I see as a great opportunity. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, that stimulates the economy better than construction. A few years ago, Moody's, the financial investment agency, calculated that every $1 of federal money invested in improving the infrastructure for highways and public schools would generate 1.44 bill, one point $1.44 back to the economy. All right, so a few years ago, Moody's Financial Investment Agency calculated that every $1 of federal money invested in improving the infrastructure for highways and public schools would generate $1.44 back to the economy. The Congressional Budget Office said the infrastructure investments have one of the strongest direct economic impacts. You know why that is? Jobs. These projects put people to work, not just the people doing the work, but also the manufacturers, the suppliers, the designers, and yes, even the lawyers. The Senate Budget Committee estimates that rebuilding America will create 13 million jobs. Our economy needs more available jobs. I know what the unemployment rate supposedly is, but I also know there is no such thing as the Easter Bunny. Ask the construction unions and trade unions how many of their members are looking for jobs. Ask the unemployed electricians, plumbers, and masons how hard it is to find a good job. If we do what we have to do correctly, we can create the biggest economic boom in this country since the New Deal, when our vast infrastructure was first put into place. It's a no-brainer. It's so obvious that even the Democrats can figure it out. The biggest questions are, how much is it going to cost? And where is that money going to come from? Financing a project is far too complex for most politicians to understand. These projects require real-world dollars, not figures on paper. Experience is required to understand how to budget properly. I think we can all agree, after watching our politicians waste our tax dollars, that the last thing we want to do is to put them in charge of $1 trillion rebuilding program. When I build a project, I watch the money. At least some of it is coming directly out of my pocket. And if I do the job right, a lot more is going back into that same pocket. I know what things cost. I know where the money goes. I know who is doing a good job, and I know who is just phoning it in. Our government should too. On the federal level, this is going to be an expensive investment. No question about that. But in the long run, it will more than pay for itself. It will stimulate our economy while it is being built, and it's a lot easier to do business when it's done. And it can be done on time and under budget. There are a lot of different ways to finance these projects. We need to put together a variety of sources to get it done. In some places, there need to be bonds issued. The money is there. We just have to get it into place. The beauty of this is that every city and state has needs, which means that we can truly make this a national effort controlled at the local level. If we are serious about making America great again, this is where we have to start. Not only will repairing our infrastructure create jobs and stimulate the economy, it'll make it easier for us to get home at the end of a long day. And in this case, we can make America beautiful again. Interesting. All right. So that's the end of chapter 12. We're going to pick up on chapter 13 in our next live stream on values. Going to jump into the comments. Avery says, let's speak on the present, not the past. So the whites got land in the 1800s and before, but the blacks get handouts in today's time that don't really make us move forward. That's the problem. We are not in the 1800s and before. We can't change. People are ahead of us in that sense, but we the best, like we know we don't need that shit. We would overlap them 9 times out of 10. The handouts of today's time are used to keep us under their thumb. Let's make this clear. There are no handouts in America. Period. Black people don't get any handouts. We need to stop this madness. We need to stop the lies. Because Bill Clinton got rid of cash benefits. Cash payments for welfare have not existed for a whole generation. A whole generation. It's hard as hell in any state, anywhere, from the state government, federal government, county government, anywhere, to get any sort of handouts. There are no handouts for black people. We have never had any true handouts. But the whites get them all the time. There are none, none, none. And when people start saying that the government doesn't need to give handouts, what you're saying is that we in America need to continue to be bitches and hoes and slaves to the capitalist class. We work for pennies on the dollar. We slave away our lives, spend more time at the office than we do with our children, and we get nothing in return. We get nothing in return. There are no handouts today. There is no welfare. Food stamps keep on getting cut. SNAP keeps getting cut. There is no benefit to being an American. No physical benefit. You get nothing for free in America except pain, poverty, and death. That's all you get in America. There's nothing free in America. I'm making this absolutely clear. Let's stop all this talk about black people getting handouts. When? 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 When did we get handouts? There ain't been none. None. Period. He low-key a diva. Trump is a diva. He is a hell of a diva. But yeah, this has been Crippled America, Trump's horrible book from 2015. Pick up the book on Amazon if you want it. We're going to continue this live stream tomorrow, reading 4 more chapters. I think we're almost done. We're on chapter 13. Let's see how many chapters are left in this book. I don't know if we're going to finish this in our next live stream. Let's just go to page, what is it, page 5, 4. Let's see the table of contents. Okay, so we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 chapters left. So you know what we're going to do? In our next live stream, we're going to wrap up this book and read the last 5 chapters. Values, A New Game in Town, Teaching the Media Dollars and Cents, A Tax Code That Works, and Making America Great Again. We're going to finish up this book in our next live stream. Y'all be easy out there. This has been Simon Hill Keeps It Trill.